2017, a new year is upon us, and if you were just like me and millions of others, you watched the Rose Parade this year that happened on January 2nd. Well, guess what? I was so excited because the Los Angeles-based 26th Cavalry Philippine Scout Ceremonial Mounted Unit, which honors the legacy of the U.S. Army's 26th Cavalry Regiment Philippine Scouts, were invited to be one of 20 equestrian units in the 2017 Rose Parade that was held on January 2 of this year, 2017. I, along with millions of others, eagerly watched them on television and cheered them on as they paraded the streets of Pasadena because my fellow Filipinos were there representing in the biggest parade syndicated to the world for New Year's. Well, guess what? They are here today to share their experience of being part of not only the 2017 Rose Parade, but they're here to talk about what it means to them to be part of the Philippine Scouts. So joining us, kasama natin si Frank Quimbao. He's the president of the Alexander Nininger chapter of Philippine Scouts Heritage Society. And joining them is Ricardo Molina. He's a grandson of the 26th U.S. Cavalier Trooper. Hello and welcome to our program.
Well, thank you, Giselle. It's a pleasure to be here.
You guys look so much better in person, although on TV you look really good on those horses. I'm so excited you're here to share your experience. But before that, we want to know all about the Philippine Scouts. Tell us about the organization and how you were brought to be a part of it, Frank?
Well, the history of the Philippine Scouts is one that, as a Filipino, I did not know that much about. I knew about the Philippine Scouts, but I didn't know about the 26th U.S. Cavalry. So for all the people watching us today, well, let's give a little brief history. You know that the Philippines obviously was part of the United States back in the day for 50 years, and part of the United States Army that was there was made up of Philippine Scouts. So these were Filipino enlisted soldiers with American officers, graduates of West Point and places like that, and they formed three various groups. One was an artillery unit, another one was an infantry unit, and another one was the 26th U.S. Cav Philippine Scouts. This unit was actually the last unit that fought on horseback in the United States Army, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the significant thing that happened was they were the unit that provided the last charge in the history of the United States Cavalry, and that took place on January 16th, 1942.
1942, World War II.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Ricardo, your grandfather was part of the Philippine Scouts.
That's correct, Giselle. My grandfather, retired Sergeant First Class Dan Figuracion, a member of Fox Company, 26th Cavalry, Philippine Scouts. He was part of the group of, I believe it was 16 men, to include then Lieutenant Ed Ramsey, who took part in the last cavalry charge on the 16th of January of 1942 in a small village of Marong. He's, as I understand it, he's the last surviving member of that group.
Oh my goodness.
So what happened was that, you know, the United States Army was outnumbered and outgunned, and were actually retreating from northern Luzon down to the Bataan Peninsula and then eventually Corregidor. Well, the 26th Cavalry and all the Philippine Scouts were the elite unit of the United States Army. And so General Wainwright and General MacArthur, whenever we were withdrawing, the troops that were at the very tail end, that had to guard the bridges, guard the towns, so that the American Army could escape. They were always the last ones to be fighting the enemy. And so at the Battle of Morong, there was a situation where the enemy was coming across the river over the bridges, and they knew that they were going to be there, so they sent a unit of 26th Cav to find out what was going on. And when they arrived, they saw that the enemy was crossing the bridge and crossing the river. So immediately they wanted to stop them. So Lieutenant Ed Ramsey decided that, you know what, we have to charge. And so they lined up and they charged into the village. They pushed the enemy back to get, and they eventually got reinforcements. And as a result, they were able to hold off the enemy for a day so that our troops could escape and go further south.
What an amazing story! I'm getting goosebumps. I really, really am. And to keep that legacy alive today is so important, and you guys are representing that. Such a story behind this, and I thought it was like, oh, Filipinos on horseback, great. So much deeper than, you know, what the eye can see. We have them here on Kababayan Today. This is an exclusive, and we are sharing with you their experience. Please join us as we return from break here on Kababayan Today.